Welcome to the Tarot Tapestry, a weaving of self-discovery, where three tarot mavens put their heads and hearts together to offer their wisdom and insights about the tarot. We hope that you find this helpful in your personal journey to self-discovery and growth.
Join us as we explore ways to use tarot for self-reflection and self-correction.
Together, we'll discover new ways to use tarot to weave threads of understanding into the tapestry of your life.
Hi, I'm Angie.
I'm Kate.
And I'm Linda, and this is the Tarot Tapestry with the Tarot Trio. Today, we begin our tarot journey with the first card of the major arcana, the Fool. So, Kate, when you see the Fool in the cards, what does it mean to you?
So, to me, the Fool symbolizes the beginning of a journey, right? It symbolizes, for me, the emotions that are involved in starting a new journey. And in my eyes, a new journey can be a small little journey. It can be a very long journey. Some journeys can take like a really long time, and some journeys can just be, really, really short.
I think for me, the Fool is, in the more traditional sense, is about, obviously starting something brand new. And one of the things I love about the Fool is its versatility to be able to show up anywhere in the whole sequence of the entire deck and bring clarity or a different way of looking at whatever situation you're grappling with, and telling you, okay, now if you could start this over, what would you do different? What can you maybe let go of, because they are always traveling light? Or maybe do you need something for your pack? Do you need to find something before you set off on this fantastic journey?
Oh, I like that. Linda, your thoughts?
I like what both of you said. I really relate to the Fool a lot because I have started over in my life so many times, and several of those times I have literally had to leave everything behind, whether it was physical possessions or the way that I was thinking about what my life was like at the time, and then I realized it wasn't what I thought it was at all, and so I had to start something, with a completely new attitude. To me, the Fool is really about trust. I think there's a quality of innocence. I think it's important in our lives, regardless of how many experiences we go through. I think it's important not to be jaded and not to assume that because we're starting another journey that it's going to turn out like the last journey. Because it's kind of like when you roll the dice. Every time you roll the dice, your probability starts over. And so every time you take a journey, you're starting over. And I think the fact that the Fool has this little, very little backpack on a stick with him, I think that kind of symbolizes that you need to leave the attitudes and the ways that you were approaching your last journey behind and just start off with an open heart and a clean slate.
I like that. I was also thinking about, to set out on this new journey also requires like courage to take that leap of faith that
absolutely,
that it's going to work out, and the knowledge that once I start this journey, there will be challenges and obstacles that will be in my way, and I will face them. And I think that's really important when you're setting out on any kind of journey, is this understanding of there are going to be challenges. Nothing worth setting out to do is going to be easy. Like, it's not just going to be a quick, oh, I got this, I can do it, I'm not going to have any issues. There's always something. It could be small little challenges, or it could be, grander ones. But I think knowing that you're going to come across something or face something is important when you begin the journey.
I was just going to say that I really loved that you brought up faith with the Fool, because at least in the traditional imagery, they don't have a single care in the world. Like, they have their goal in mind and they just know it's going to be okay, because yeah, there are going to be obstacles along the way, and intellectually you know that at the beginning of any journey, but when you are just kind of caught up in the excitement of let's go and start over again, that really takes a lot of faith that somehow there will be solutions for all of the, like, you know, you just get that minute when you decide to start something that, yeah, it's going to be great and it's going to be fine and I'm not going to have to worry about it, and then you walk off the cliff. But so, you know, faith and just kind of a wide-eyed belief that it's all going to be okay no matter what.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Angie. And I think that, you know, back to the discussion that Kay was saying about obstacles and issues, which obviously they're going to come up, but I think the Fool is not really thinking about those. I think the Fool, you know, between the faith that he has, the trust, the innocence, and the enthusiasm, there's just a it's kind of childlike, not childish, but childlike. There's so much, to me there's a lot of joy in the card, that, you know, maybe he's put down something that he'd carried for a long time and he's so happy to be rid of it, or maybe he just is, you know, leaving home for the first time. We don't really know what the story is. It can be whatever it means to you. But I think that the fact that issues are going to come up is like way down on the list for the Fool. I think the joy of just getting out on the road, being in the sunshine with his little dog and his little pack on his stick, I think he's just so happy and feels such an innocence of being out there on the road right now that doesn't have any challenges on it, that he's just joyful. And I think, you know, that's the main thing, the main focus, that when I look at the card, that's what I feel.
See, and I love, and this is like to our point about how people will see the different cards in different ways, you know, and I think that is like the beauty of reading tarot. Is I think we take part of ourselves goes into describing and thinking about the card and what it means to us. And I can see how Linda's meaning and my meaning are like a bit different. They have similarities, but they are different, and that's okay. And that's wonderful, you know, and when I think about the Fool and I talk about the challenges and obstacles that will be present, and this idea of knowing that you're setting out and they are going to come up, or they are going to be there, I think comes from this idea of carrying that sack behind you of your past lessons learned, you know, the past wisdom that you have gathered on all these other journeys, you know, and when you set out on the new one, it's kind of like you have this preconceived notion or idea that things are going to come up because of past experiences with things. So that's just again to prove like how beautiful tarot can be, and how each person just sees it in a different way, and how you see it works for you in how you use the cards.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So how, when you're doing a reading, say you get a pretty tough card, like you pull a Tower, or what's another spooky card, like the Seven of Swords, or the Fool can bring like a fresh perspective to that. Like, say you pull the Tower card. I mean, that's always kind of scary if you're, you know, in the middle of a situation, and But if you can bring the Fool into that, even though it's this big scary situation, the Fool is kind of like, listen, it's going to be okay. It's all right that we don't know. This is a do-over or a start over or whatever, and maybe we can approach the big scary thing in a different way with more curiosity than fear or trying to like pretend it's not happening. If that
I
makes
think that's a great idea, or I think that's a great thing. And actually, to that end, shall we pull cards? Shall we each pull a card and see how the Fool might influence that card?
Yes. I'm just using the Smith-Waite Tarot Deck Centennial Edition, just my good old standby that I've been just very enamored with for pretty much this whole year. I don't know why.
Beautiful.
I'm using the Penumbra deck that I got from Angie.
Cool.
Oh, beautiful. And I am using the Light Seer Tarot. I've been very drawn to it lately. Right.
All right. Should I start her off here?
Sure.
I pulled Six of Cups, which is already a pretty sweet card in many situations, but some people have had, hairy childhoods or confusing childhoods. I think because when you look at the Six of Cups, this could be taken two ways, right? These could be very safe, happy little well-off children, or they could be children who are trapped.
Well, there's a person leaving, so maybe they've been abandoned.
Yeah, exactly. But the Six of Cups and the Fool together, the Fool is kind of like maybe you could lose some of the baggage that you've carried all this time in the Six of Cups and try to have a fresh take on it. Like maybe it wasn't all bad, or maybe it wasn't all good, because the Six of Cups can also be sort of looking through rose-colored glasses. And the Fool could be saying, maybe take the glasses off and just kind of not so much turn your back on it, but take what you can, take what's good, and leave the rest be just for now. You never know. It'll probably come around again sometime. But that is, I think, that's what I think the Fool brings to the Six of Cups.
That
I like
sounds
that's a beautiful way.
Yes, I think that sounds very good, because sometimes, if you don't make the decision to not live in your past anymore, it really can hang on and, color everything that you do going forward. And sometimes you just need to let go of that. So
it takes a lot of courage. I'm sorry. It takes a lot of courage to be able to decide to leave it behind.
Absolutely. So I pull the Two of Swords, and in this deck, this is a man. I say a man with long hair, and he's blindfolded, and he's sitting in front of a body of water, and it's kind of cloudy, so the horizon is behind his head. And in the traditional card that he's holding, they hold the swords crossed arms, and the swords are pointing up. In this card, he's holding the swords crossed arms, but the swords are pointing down. But to me, this card is like, I have to make a decision, and I don't know which decision to make, and I can't see my way through to the decision that I want to make, and I'm kind of stuck. And again, I think if you were to put the Fool's energy here, I think that the Fool would say, one, take off the blindfold and look at everything that you've got. And two, go with the decision that makes you feel more lighthearted, whatever that is. That makes you, if you've got one option and you think about it and you kind of get that not feeling in your stomach, and you think about the other option, and maybe you still get that, but maybe it's a little less, or maybe you think, well, this is kind of what I'd like to do, but then other people might say this, or, I don't have, but the decision itself, the option itself makes you feel better. The Fool would say, go with that option and worry about how it's going to work out later, because it's better to feel better in your gut or in your heart about your decision and then deal with whatever situations you have to deal with, than to pick something that makes you already feel terrible and then have to deal with it that way. So that's how I think the Fool energy would impact on that card.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. Beautiful. So I picked the Magician, and I pulled the card, and I'm like, oh no, that's the card that we're gonna do in our next episode. And I was tempted to put it back and pull another, and then I said no, I'm gonna go with it. And I mean, I love it, and I love in the Light Seers deck. I love how for the Fool card, she's on a cliff. She's leaning over to the side. She's holding on to a rope. She hasn't decided yet to let go. And, you know, below her is the water. And it just looks very magical. And that whole idea, going back to what you had said, Angie, about having faith. Like, I see her leaning over, looking up, talking to her spirit guides or talking to whomever, you know, whether it be a god or your spirit guides or a goddess, whatever you believe in, but having this conversation and saying, I have faith in my guides working with me as I go on this journey. And then you get to the Magician, and it's like he had this beautiful spiral of it looks to me like a spiral universe on the bottom, and he's got his hands going, and it's just like such a beautiful card. And I see the Magician obviously as the first, because that's the card after the Fool, right? That's card number one. So the
Right.
Fool is coming to the Magician, and that's their like first experience in entering this journey. And the Magician is there to show you all the resources that are available to you to use on your journey. You know, the Magician is there to tell you that you have that magic inside of you. Like, you have what you need inside of you and around you. You just need to open up your eyes to see it all. And, you know, will you see it all in the very beginning? No. Will you be aware of all your resources right away? No. You know, but to carry with you and maybe tuck into that bag that you're carrying on your shoulder is this notion that as you proceed, you know, think about these resources that are available to you. You know, think about, you know, the holding that magic inside of you to kind of keep pushing you forward as you go on the journey.
I love
That's all
that.
I got.
Talking
I like
about the
that.
Fool coming upon the Magician and just kind of being like, yeah,
Yeah.
this person's got it figured out, and I can just believe like in magic. And yeah,
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 that was
yeah.
great.
thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
So I'm applying for jobs. You know, I'm applying for jobs kind of right and left. And a lot of the jobs that I'm applying for are jobs that I have the skills for, but either they're in an industry that I haven't worked in before, or they're a position that I haven't done the exact, you know, the exact description on the job description. Although a lot of the responsibilities are the same as many jobs that I've had. Which may be one of the reasons I'm not getting responses, because these are all done by algorithms. And if I don't match the algorithm exactly, then sometimes you don't get a response, which is kind of frustrating. But in any event, I think the Fool shows up here because I'm trying to be open to all different types of possibilities. Just because I have a particular background doesn't mean that I have to stay in that background. It doesn't mean that I have to always work in that particular industry, although I have kind of a varied background, which could also be one of the things that's throwing people off. Because when I lived in Denver, I worked with a headhunter, and she really had a hard time trying to figure out something that would work for me where I just told her, I can pretty much do anything because I have paralegal and legal experience. I have health insurance and, medical health care field experience. I have hospitality experience. I have a vast amount of telephone and in-person customer service experience. So you could pretty much throw me anywhere that's chaotic and I will function pretty well. But it doesn't appear that people want that or want to value that. And so when I look at the Two of Swords, I think, well, I have a decision to make. Am I going to continue to go down this path that is sort of frustrating to me, or am I going to maybe just start calling people that I know and who know a little bit about me and say, can you refer me to somebody, or can you get me into this place, or can you do whatever? In fact, I went to a decolonizing workshop at our library on Sunday with a friend of mine, and there were a couple of people there who worked at the library, and I had a conversation with them and said, I've put in 4 applications at this library and I want to work here. And it was interesting because both of them had kind of done the same thing, but they ended up volunteering somewhere. So I guess I'm going to have to look at a volunteer thing at the library, and hopefully that will lead to me getting hired. So that was one step down that road of path. And I thought, that's great. So yeah, these cards really do resonate with me in my current life at the moment. And I'm trying to remain open to anything. I mean, if somebody called and said, got your resume, or I heard about you from so-and-so and I'm interested in you for this, I'd probably say, sure, I'll come and interview. I'll give you a shot if you'll give me a shot, and just be open to it. I'm not closing off any pathways right now.
That's really great. I love that you are not just sitting in indecision and uncertainty. You're saying out loud, this is what I would like to happen. And you're committing to doing, something that might lead to things happening the way that you want them to happen. Good.
Right.
For you. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's like that very proactive, stance that you're taking. Like, this is what I want. I'm going to go out and get it. And I'm going to give myself different options, different roads to take. I'm not going to just, keep myself on one singular path, but I'm going to explore other ways that I might be able to do this. So yes, good for you, Linda. Kudos for you, Linda. Kudos for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Standing ovation for Linda.
Woo! Angie?
Okay. Well, like I said, I switched decks. And so I have the Seeker and 6 of Water in Gaian Tarot. And the 6 of Water shows a circle of 6 women standing about hip deep. The sun is going down. They're hip deep in the ocean. There's a little seal swimming around them. And this is quite a different vibe to me than the 6 of Cups in the RWS. This is more about community. And I feel like this seeker, having been down a few roads in her lifetime and varying degrees of success along her journey with finding like-minded people who she can hang out with and be her weird self with, her and her pet fox. I kind of feel like that is me right now. I'm just sort of finally on purpose trying to figure out who I am beyond I have this job, I'm married this long, I have these kids, and that is all beautiful, and I would never change a single thing about it except the jobs. Every job I've ever had sucked. Well, you know, but I was always work ethic and what I do and how much I make and how many people think I'm good at it and everything used to be so important to me. Like it used to just run my life, and it has not, especially this past year and a half, I'd say. I have just been like, you know what? I don't care anymore who thinks what I'm doing is neat or cool or stupid or whatever. Like, I'm just going to do what I like, and I'm going to do it with people I like. I'm not going to try to do it in a way that, makes strangers go, ooh, what's she up to all the time? And I think that that's how these 6 women ended up like skinny dipping and being happy under the moonlight and I also like that it's kind of like you can tell it's a mountain lake or ocean. It's kind of like surrounded by trees and stuff. So I think that's where she ends up at the end of her long walk
Oh, I
that
like that.
purposely setting out on.
That is nice. I like that. Very nice. So I was thinking, um, so when I think about the Fool and in my life, it reminds me of two things that are going on. So one is what we're doing right now with creating this podcast. Like for me, that is like just such a super important thing in my life right now. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. But like this girl in the light seer deck, I was holding on to that rope and I wasn't letting go. And then we talked about it, and I'm like, okay, it's time to let go, and I did. And it's like such this great feeling that I have. I feel very optimistic. I'm excited, those like traditional meanings of the Fool. And I'm like, this is going to be great. And then, as I had talked about before with the Fool setting out on their journey and meeting up with the Magician, I was thinking about, okay, so like here I am on this journey, and now I'm coming up to the Magician. And it's like the Magician, is the one that kind of shows the Fool the tools and the resources that are available to them. Like I had mentioned that before, but also kind of shows you and is representative of your will, right? Like your will to like keep going and keep moving, and just knowing that it's going to be okay. That things are going to work out if you're very conscious of the resources and tools around you and knowing that they're there. And many of them are already inside of you that you need to kind of like pick and pull from. And then there's an assortment that's around you, that surround you. So, I started to think about that, and I'm like, okay, so I'm doing this podcast. What could these tools and resources be that the Magician might be offering me? And then I'm like, okay, well, the biggest one for me right now is YouTube, because that is where I am learning right, how to do all of this editing. I'm learning the editing program that I'm doing, and I'm like, that has been available. That is a resource. It's a tool that I can use. And the cards themselves are a tool. Both of you are a tool and a resource for me too. And when I kind of look at it in that way, it's like it makes me even more excited that I'm doing this. It gives me more motivation to like keep going, And then there was like one other thing that I wanted to mention in there too is it's like a parallel Fool's journey to that is my journey with the Wild Woman Project, and how I am studying to be a facilitator in a women's circle. And when I first started, like, again, same thing, the Fool, excited and everything. And then I started to take the courses, and then I started to get nervous, and I'm like, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. They're asking me to do these assignments and such. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And now I can like feel myself getting a little panicky. What am I going to do? Where am I going to pull from? And then it's like, okay, well, what does the Magician tell you? Look within, look without. What are your resources? What can you pull from to kind of help you with these assignments. And when I gave myself that opportunity to do that, it was like it helped to kind of quickly just calm me down and be like, okay, I got this. I can do this. I can kind of look at, my cards. I can look online. I can, do some research. I can talk. I can listen to other people. I can read their stuff to kind of help me, get a better handle on the kind of projects that I want to put out there. So yeah, that's it. I was pretty excited about it.
That's so exciting. I'm doing a lot of things like that too. Like you mentioned, learning on YouTube. I'm learning how to use, and I know this is like simple, no duh lady stuff to a lot of people these days, but learning how to use the G Drive, I made myself a little habit tracker with Google Sheets. And like I'm also learning about how to YouTube, and this is a brand new this podcast and thing. I never in a million years would have thought, hey, I'm going to be on a podcast. But we all kind of met, and ta-da, look what happened.
And here it is.
Yes, that's awesome, Kate.
Thank you. I was also thinking, Linda, when you had that card of the Six of Cups, so like one of the traditional meanings
That was
is
I
was
had
what?
Six of Cups.
Angie had the cups.
Oh, did I say Linda? I'm so sorry.
That's
I
okay.
am so sorry. The Six of Cups for Angie. I was thinking about like nostalgia, remembrance, childhood. And then I started thinking about, just like from what I know from you and kind of a little bit about what you were talking about, this journey that you've taken from your past into your future, and how you're now looking at the world more in a sense of, I am going to do what makes me happy and what I want to do. And I'm not so concerned about what others are thinking. But what I loved about in the cards is that they were a group of women together, and it's like, you think about this podcast, a group of women together that are doing what they want to do, and they're doing it their way, and they're not so concerned about what other people are going to think, although we want people to enjoy it, but it's more for us than it is for anything else, and I just love that. I wanted to make that comparison.
Yeah,
this
that's great.
Picture too, with these women standing, holding hands in a circle in the water. Like, I like to think that they all started out on their own fool's journey, like this lady. Like, I'm putting on my fancy vest and taking my pet, and we are gonna go walkabout until we find where we fucking belong.
Right.
So that's what I
love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies. This was so much fun.
Much fun. I'll talk to you soon. Join us next time as we continue our journey through the major arcana with the magician.